but I want to welcome you all on behalf of AIM to our second webinar of 2020 for market participants. We are so glad you could join us today. My name is Liana Orlandi and I'm the Program Grants Manager at AIM. Today we'll cover tips and strategies to connect to more customers using Instagram, and there will be lots of opportunities for you to ask questions and really present your individual cases, things you're working on, things you're not sure about. So get ready to have lots of interaction. We're also recording this webinar so that you can watch it later. And I'm very happy to share with you that this is a webinar in partnership with the Marin Small Business Development Center. And we have the director of Marin's office here, Miriam Hope Correll, and she can share a little bit more information about the work that they do. But we're partnering very closely with them this year and in the next couple of years as part of our Farmers Market Promotion Program grant. So it's possible for you to get more one-on-one training if you need it. So I hope that you'll reach out to me or Miriam or Andy if you need to find out more after the webinar. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Miriam to share a little bit of information before we get to our presenter today.
Miriam, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Okay, phone. It says I'm unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. My computer just is slow in terms of the unmute, so I apologies about that. So welcome to this webinar, and we're really grateful to be partnering with AIM and be able to share more tips and tools around social media and other pieces. And so I'm not going to take too much time because I know the real piece is getting to Instagram today. But just so you know a little bit about our program, we are a free business advising program, and we are here to support your business in all aspects of growth. And we can help right now. We've been helping a lot with obviously everything going on in terms of all the disaster funding, but we've been helping with HR and EDD, PUA stuff, as well as pivot strategies and online marketing strategies and e-commerce. So there's a wide range that we can support your business, and it's all no cost to you. And so Stephanie is one of our team members who has her own business helping businesses with marketing and works for us. I kind of like to think of it as like a stipend volunteers, and is very supportive and diligent in helping our clients to understand a lot more about how to grow specifically on social media. And so Stephanie's had 25 years or more experience in this field and has helped a wide range of different businesses in all kinds of different aspects. So I look forward to hearing all of your tips. And just a little note about the time today. If you have questions, we're really happy to answer any questions. Stephanie is prepared for that. So you can either chat them in the chat box, or you can use the raise hand function, which is in the participant window at the bottom. You'll see a little icon that is a raised hand. And so, or, if we happen to see a video, we might be able to, but that might be harder. It'd be easier to do the raise hand or the chat. And without anything, I'll pass over to Stephanie. So thank you.
Thank you so much. If you'll unshare your screen so I can, there we go.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. So I will just quickly, hold on, sorry, share screen. So one of the things, the way that I will have it set up today, and I think one of you might be on the phone, so I'll do my best to use verbal cues as well. But I have my phone shared as well as a PowerPoint. And the reason I have my phone shared on the screen is because Instagram, as I'm sure you know, is while you can view it on a desktop version, it is a heavily phone related app. So that's why it's just useful to be able to show you the steps. And if there are questions on even setting things up, I can walk you through it visually. So again, thank you so much for being here. just to sort of let you know what the morning will look like. The other thing is, you know what, since we have such a small group, do you think it's possible if we just quickly go around the room and tell me each of like who you are? If you're a vendor, it would help me just to know who I'm talking to so I can make sure to cater it. It's a small enough group that I think we can just take the 5 minutes to do that. So is that, I'm gonna pull up gallery view so I can see everybody. So if you want to just quickly, Miriam, do you want to just go around? And I can't really see everybody very well.
Yeah. Can you hear me? My microphone is getting slow.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just call out a name and unmute you. So Brandon Ring. Oh, I can't unmute you for some reason. You'll have to unmute yourself. And if you can't speak, you can always type it into the chat, just like what your business is. That's another way we can do that, is just type your name and business.
And if it doesn't work, we can just fly through this. I just thought it might be nice.
What about Elliot Johnson? I'll see if we can unmute. I don't know why, but I'm not able to unmute people. Oh, there I am. You are muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Elliot Johnson. I'm a vendor at the Hayward Farmers Market, and we're an artisan vendor, and our company is Goldie's Gourmet Spices.
Got it. Nice to meet you.
How about Erica Maloney?
We're vendors at, I think, like 4 or 5 AIM markets. We're Fallon Hills Ranch. We sell meat and eggs.
Thank you so much for being here.
Frankie Whitman.
Hi, I work with Starter Bakery, and we're at 5 different farmers markets in Oakland and the East Bay.
Jennifer Schilling. I can't unmute you. Sorry, if you wanted to try to unmute yourself. There you are. Yeah, you're unmuted. And I see you're unmuted, Jennifer, but we can't hear you.
Some people might have audio issues. We can just.
Okay, well, you can always chat in the chat box if you want to introduce yourself. How about Karen Weaver?
Hey, we go to about 4 of the AIM markets in between Marin, Oakland, and San Francisco. We are a all gluten-free bakery here in Nevada.
Welcome. Kim Koenen, I hope I'm saying your name right, sorry. It looks like you're only by phone too, and I can't unmute you, so you would have to do that yourself for some reason.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Hi, I'm Kim, and my daughter Christine own Mama House Bake Shop. We're in Hayward and Newark.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Naomi Heron.
I'm also at Starter Bakery. I help at the Grand Lake Market, and I also help take some of the pictures and post on the Instagram page as well.
Great, welcome.
Paul Marquis. Again, you'd have to unmute yourself. I can't do it. I don't know, or chat if that doesn't work. What about Roland Feldmeyer?
Hi, Roland Feldmeyer. I am founder of Airborne Roasting. We are part of the Hayward Farmers Market with AIM, and obviously always looking to expand with you guys.
Wonderful. And Sheila Burke?
Good morning. I work for Stone Root Field and Sea, and we're in the Oakland and San Rafael markets.
Wonderful. And did I get Katie Pomalov? I don't know if I caught you
I
before.
don't think so.
Hi. I'm Life Food Gardens. I do Grand Lake, and I'm a microgreens farmer.
Wonderful. I think that's everyone except for the people who we couldn't unmute. So feel free to chat your business if you would like. And Stephanie, back to you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. Little funky sometimes, awkward, but I think it helps to sort of know. So this is what the day will look like, or the morning will look like. Just basically, we did introductions. We'll talk a little bit about what I call the elephant in the room. And then I am going to do just a sort of a broad stroke, and we'll move fairly quickly through a strategy piece, just because I think that's a really key element that I think sometimes people just sort of start with the action and the tactical piece, and it's helpful to step back and really have an overview of what your overall objectives are as far as a company, and then sort of action steps and tips. So that's sort of just an overview of what it will look like. And so elephant in the room, and this is obviously a bit less important for you all because you've been an essential business from the beginning of the COVID shutdown, and so obviously many of you have been running and active. So this is probably one of the early questions that I got is it appropriate to be marketing during a crisis? And the answer is unequivocally yes. The big thing is about shifting your messaging. So there may be things that you were communicating or not communicating prior to this situation, and that's one of the things we'll talk about messaging is critical, because I think especially customers are very interested in knowing, about security measures and safety measures and all of that. So we'll talk a bit about that. But the answer is, the most important thing is yes, this is probably the most critical time for you to be reaching out, because there is so much uncertainty and their behaviors have shifted so drastically that you want to make sure that you remain in front of them and see how what you're offering fills their needs. So one of the second things I always get is, how do I know what to put on Instagram? And that's sort of the first set of things that we're going to go over, is how I frequently get the question of what pictures are appropriate, how much messaging, should it have words on it, should it not? And so this is an overarching question that we will continue through the whole entire presentation. But if this answer is not coming through, please feel free to reach out and ask a question as we go. So the first thing I want to talk about is strategy. And when I mean strategy, I mean back to that question before, how do I know what to put up? So the most important things that I can say to you, and I always use this little graphic here with the car, because it's about making a roadmap of where you want to get. And so I always say, if you don't have a roadmap, you're going to get a little bit lost, and having a roadmap allows you to veer off and try more creative things, if you will, without getting off track for what your overall marketing goals are. So I always say, if you're trying to drive from California to New York, there's lots of different ways to go. If you have a roadmap and it's all mapped out, if you get to Minnesota and you decide you want to veer off and take a detour, you can get back on track quite easily if you have a map laid out. So the most important thing is that you want your social media efforts. I think so often people think, oh, I have an Instagram account or a Facebook account or whatever that is. And so they think, if I just keep posting stuff, people will respond. And on a personal level, that is true. But on a business profile or a business account, that's actually, it just doesn't yield the same results. You do want to have a roadmap, and you want it to be aligned with whatever your overall marketing goals are. And so I sort of have 4 that I touch base on. That you either want to increase customer satisfaction. Those are the people that are already coming to you, that maybe come to a market knowing you'll be there or looking for you at markets. Those are the people that you want to continue to keep and maybe grow their market share with you. The next thing is generating leads. So how is your presence at a market or your marketing efforts going to translate into generating leads? And leads being potential new markets maybe that you would go to, or new customers. And then website traffic. This is, I'm not sure how many of you have website traffic or websites that, sorry, my dog just yelped. That distracted me. I'm not sure how many of you are doing any sort of e-commerce or orders online, but getting people to your information site is another goal. And then ultimately the goal is to increase revenue. I mean, I think that's everybody's objective. And so the question is often, why do I need a strategy? One of the things you'll see throughout the presentation is pink words. And I always say, if you see something in pink, that means that it's a really important thing. So if you take away exactly one thing from this slide, what I'd really like you to walk away from is consistency. You really want to create consistent and engaging content. And so consistent, there's two parts to the consistency. One is the frequency in which you post, and two, the branding, so that it is consistent with whatever it is. So if you're a vegan vendor or a gluten-free vendor, you obviously want to stay consistent with what your company message is. And so consistency, that's the other thing, is I think people get so busy, and I understand it. I really do understand how busy small businesses are, and especially market where you're not in front of a computer all the time. But consistently creating content and posting helps keep you in front of people when you're not at a market. So they think of you. That means, and people ask me this all the time, how frequently should I post? It really is up to whatever you can do consistently. If you're so busy that you can only consistently post 1 or 2 times a week, then only commit to 1 or 2. Don't say, oh, I think I'm going to be able to do it 7 days a week. Then you get frustrated and you haven't done it, and then you just think, oh, I'm not going to do it. So I'd rather see you post once a week, every single week, than go weeks and weeks on end without doing it, because I think there's nothing more valuable than staying in a consistent way in front of your customers and potential customers. And then ultimately having a strategy just makes it much more efficient, so that you're not sort of herding cats in all sorts of different directions. And then the ultimate goal is to increase your ROI, which is your return on investment. So an investment is not just money. This is also your time. We want the time that you spend marketing to be valuable and have an increased benefit. So before I go to the next thing, does anybody have any questions? It's a super 30,000 foot view of marketing strategy. Obviously I could do a whole day on that, but I just wanted to sort of have everyone understand that you should have something that aligns with your company goals. Are there any questions related to that slide? Okay. So brand identity and voice. This one is actually I'll call it a generic slide. It's not really, you guys are all in the same industry, so this is a little bit easier for you all. The idea here is you want to also make sure you know what your brand personality is. And the best way I can describe that is, are you fun? Are you very serious? Are you sustainably focused? Are you gluten-free? Are you vegan? Are you, do you have some very specific thing that's related to your personality? And not your personal personality, but your brand personality. So I don't know, maybe you're the people that always have a fun and bright purple out, sign or whatever that is. So be thinking of how you would describe your brand personality, because that should come through in your messaging and your pictures. And then I always say you can ask other people. Sometimes it's hard to know exactly how others see you. So what adjectives would your audience use to describe you? And so obviously this is a little bit geared to a broader business spectrum. And so I think you guys, obviously there's, healthy eating, and you guys are in a bit of a niche because of the nature of your just the nature of you all being in the same industry. But be mindful, and this will come into play later on as I'm talking, that when we're talking about specifically what kind of pictures to post and what messages to post, you just want to make sure, and I always say I'm a fairly, I don't want to say formal as in I'm boring, but I think I'm quite formal in the way that I present my business. And so it would seem odd if all of a sudden I started posting slang words and that sort of thing, because that just doesn't fit my brand personality. But maybe that is your personality. So just be mindful that you have the same voice and it's consistent throughout all of your messaging.
Stephanie, there was one question around consistency.
Sure. Yep, go ahead.
Are there recommended tools to maintain consistency?
And I'm guessing what they mean is a third-party app so you can schedule. Is that what the question was?
This is from Roland. So if you wanted to unmute yourself and.
Yes, absolutely. It is about third-party tools. I've seen things where we can preload content and then publish on a schedule.
The answer is yes. Yes, those exist. And here's my theory on those. If you really can't be consistent without using those tools, then by all means, I encourage you. That's Hootsuite. There's so many. There's scheduling apps. The challenge that I have with those is they affect your search engine optimization, which means if somebody Googles, I want lettuce in Marin, or beets in Marin, or watermelon radishes in Marin, you're not going to appear as high. So a third-party app cuts off all of the search engine benefits that you have from posting directly. And so if you type in, and Instagram is a little different because we do have hashtags, but I want to give a generic answer to this. So for instance, Facebook, and I don't know if anyone's attending next week, but Facebook, it has artificial intelligence. So it reads the words and drives up your Google search and your Bing and whatever search engine you use. So the words matter. And so if you are using a third-party app, you lose the benefit of that because it filters through and doesn't give you, your website or your social media, the same SEO value. So I feel that's really important ultimately, but it's not as important as not posting at all. So it's sort of a two-pronged answer. If you could pull it off and do it without a third-party app, I encourage that. But if you can't, by all means, use it. And the one that I've used very successfully is Hootsuite, but there are so many different ones. So Brandon, does that answer your question?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thanks. So the next thing I want to talk about is knowing your audience. Again, because we're all in the same industry here, this isn't a bit obvious because I think you guys will have a similar audience, although you do have there are people in the room that are gluten-free specifically, and I think there was a meat and eggs, so I'm guessing that you are sustainably sourced and all of that sort of thing. So there's definitely specific audiences. Obviously, a vegan market isn't concerned about people that are going to buy meat. I mean, there are nuances within this room, obviously, but you want to know your audience in your head all the time. You should have a vision of when you're posting, when you're picking pictures, when you're visualizing anything that you're going to put out there, that's words or images. You want to have the perfect sort of person who's going to be shopping with you or engaging with you in your mind. So you should know their age, gender, income. These are pretty obvious. And this really comes into play if you're going to start doing paid advertising, because paid advertising on social media is so cost effective and so useful because you can target your audience. You can literally pick all of these things when you target your messaging and target your ads, so they show up only in front of the people who will actually be interested in your product. So I always just say, please have this in your mind. You should be able to rattle this off generally, who is coming to the markets, who is interested in your product. And again, like I said, that comes into play And these are all different things I think you want to make sure you pay attention to, because, you know, education level, people oftentimes ask me this in the food industry, but you all absolutely, you know what food deserts are, and there's lots of places, and food deserts frequently fall into different educational levels. So I don't know if you guys do any outreach into those sort of environments, but these are all very relevant. And then neighborhood, location is everything. And granted, so are they a city market versus a little bit more of a rural market? That, you know, that audience is a very, very, very different audience. So just being mindful. And sometimes when you're promoting, when you are at multiple markets, you're going to have a different demographic to market each different audience. So if, and I'm not sure where you are in the East Bay, but well, Hayward, I know, but I suspect those are slightly different than maybe even in Marin. So just the nuances of each market you should be aware of as well. And then psychographics, those are just what are people doing when they're not at a market. That definitely informs their behavior. In the Bay Area, we have such a foodie, it's just a foodie environment. So people are cooking, and much more than in other places. So I think that's a pretty self-explanatory, but feel free to ask any questions if anyone has a question, and feel free to chime in. So I want to just sort of jump right into some logistics. So I'm hoping, can everybody see this? Miriam, I'm assuming this right here is my actual phone. And so I've pulled up Downtown Novato, which, because I have access to, it's a business page. And so it will, well, actually, is there anyone, just quickly, Miriam, if you could have them type it in, is there anyone who doesn't have an account set up at all?
You can either raise your hand just to let us know, or put like a thumbs up in your space, or you could chat if you don't have an account. Only if you don't have an account.
Because I'm going to move forward assuming that you already have it set up. So if there is somebody that has those kind of questions, please don't let me make you feel like you're not important. I'm happy to answer those questions. I'm just not going to start there. Sorry, there we go. So the reason I wanted to pull this,
one person did raise their hand.
Okay, great. So Katie, if I'm not answering something, feel free to specifically ask those questions. I just don't want you to feel left out. So the most important thing is that you need to make sure your page is a business page. A business page allows you to have this little section right here. And I'm going to go over to my personal page so you can see the difference. So this is my personal page. Do you see how there is no ability to contact me? That is because it is set up as a, and I'm going to show you how to make sure that it is, by the way, but I just want you to visually see the difference. So if you've got a personal page, now I'm going to go back to a business page. The business page allows you to do promotions directly, view insights. What insights are, and we'll talk about this later, is you can see who's visiting your post, who likes the various posts. This gives you lots of great information. So we're going to get back to the insights section in a second, but I just want you to see. So if you go in your settings, so right here, I'm going in this up here, these little lines allow me to go. I just touched those little lines. And if you touch settings, if you scroll down, well, let me do this. Let me go to my personal page. If for some reason you're not seeing those, if you go to your settings, do you see how this right here gives me the opportunity to switch to a professional account? So if you see this, you should push this, because you want to make sure that you are set up as a business account. That's a very important thing. So I'm going to be functioning, I'm going to be functioning as if everyone has it set up as a business account. It's an easy switch. You lose no data, you lose nothing by setting that up. So just, if you hit that button, you're not going to lose anything. It just all of a sudden will pop up. And then the contact piece, if I click that contact, it allows you to have a phone number associated and an email associated. so that allows you, some people don't want their phone number, and that's fine, but this allows you to really be able to be reached directly without just having to be reached. I keep trying to do that on my phone. It's so funny, on my computer. So number one thing, make sure you're set up as a business account. The other thing I want to talk about is this little section right here. I think it's very, and I'm going to show you, I think I have some other, I'm not sure I have any good ones, but I encourage you to try to make this a little fun when you're trying to write your bio. And your bio is found here in your setting, or if you, I'm sorry, not your settings, if you do edit profile, it's right here. So if you go in and this is where you would put this, I always encourage people to use emojis, use images, and single words rather than sentences, because it's just much more eye-catching when people are looking, and you can just really, and then if you have key hashtags that you want to use, I do encourage you to put those in the bio as well. So that's one of the things when you're setting that up, I encourage you to, and then when your website is automatically going to be there. If you don't have a website, you can choose to not have a website on there. But and then here, down here, you can see it gives contact options. You can have, because you're in different places at different times, I would not necessarily put an address. And you'll notice on this, when you go to contact me on this particular, because it's a shopping district, there's no address. So you can choose to not have an address on there. So hopefully that makes sense. Oh, I keep trying to pretend like it's on my computer. It's funny. So those are the basics. We want to make sure you're set up. Then I want to just sort of go in and explain the differences between an Instagram feed and an Instagram story. So your feed, so we're looking at my phone right now. Look at this little section. The feed is, I'm going to hit the little home button at the bottom. This being the home button. Hold on, I gotta move this guy out of the way. The home button is down at the bottom here. This is your feed. This is every single person that you follow will appear in your feed. So I just want to be clear, definition wise, this is what I'm seeing. This is a feed is, everyone that is in this. A story is up here. So right now, this particular, I don't have a story, but so if I click on this 5 little monkeys, this is a story. A story is something that you can put up. It lasts 24 hours and disappears. So for instance, they're having a sale. That's a perfect time to have something that disappears. So if you know you're going to be at a market and you happen to have some really great peaches, this is a great place for you to put something that is not necessarily long-term branding or long-term messaging, because maybe next week you wouldn't have those. So a story is something that disappears in 24 hours. And so the messaging in a story is slightly just more fleeting. And you can just go through and you can put videos in a story, and we're going to go into that a little bit more detailed. But so I just wanted to be clear the differences between a feed. So I always say, when you're trying, back to that original question, how do I know what to put it where? All of us are old enough to remember what it was like to have a camera with actual film, where you had a roll of film that had 12 pictures on it. What goes in your Instagram feed, this down here, is what I would say, remember we had 12 images, maybe 2 of the pictures were great and they went in your photo album, 2 of them ended up in the trash, and then the other ones are in a shoebox somewhere. So the 2 that would make a photo album, those are the things that you want to put in your feed, because these last forever. I mean, well, I say forever, you can always delete them, but this is something that's going to set your branding a little bit longer term. A story disappears in 24 hours. So those other 8 photos that you put in the shoebox, those might be worthy of being in a story, but they wouldn't necessarily be in the feed. So does everybody sort of understand the difference when I'm I should say, if anybody has questions about that, please feel free to ask. So in your feed, I'm going to go back over here to where we're talking about the feed. In your feed, which is, so I'm saying we're going to, this would be an image that shows up here. I'm going to pull this one up. you have here, you have your caption. And in here, we want, you'll notice in pink, it says always use hashtags. We're going to get into the hashtags a little bit deeper later on, but I do want to encourage you all to use hashtags. Instagram does not have artificial intelligence, which means that it cannot read the words in your caption. It has SEO value, but it can't filter. So by putting a hashtag, let's say you said, you know, AIM markets or hashtag peaches or farmers market, anything that would drive people, if they were searching for a hashtag, then you would appear. So for instance, I'm going to type on this. So if you see this, I typed on the downtown Novato hashtag. If somebody went to, let's say you put hashtag Marin Farmers Market or Hayward Farmers Market, anyone that ever hashtagged it, you will appear in this feed. So these are images of everybody who has ever put that hashtag. And people's behavior, your customers' behavior, is to follow hashtags. So you can follow it, a hashtag, just like you can follow an account. So I have it set that anytime anyone hashtags downtown Novato, they show up in my feed. So therefore, if you were to follow AIM markets, or then anytime somebody posted anything related to an AIM market, like even if it was a customer saying, oh, I just bought these really great peaches, then it would appear in this feed. So does this make sense to anyone? Are there any specific questions on this? I'm moving fast because we have a lot to get through, but okay.
Stephanie, there
Yes.
was a question about the Instagram stories from
Sure.
Roland. He's asking, how can you extend the length of time for a story segment? I think the default time is 10 seconds.
The default time is 10 seconds, and you actually can't. But what you can do is, so let's say you had a 30-second video. It automatically knows to chop it up into 10-second segments. So it automatically sets the time, but it won't cut you off. It'll just make 3 10-second segments rather in concession. So it'll just go from segment to segment. So unfortunately, that is just a setup that's in there already. But you can, do you know, if you are watching a story, and so let me go back to here. If I'm watching this person's story, cute baby, and I want to look at that picture a little longer, if I put my thumb on that screen, it stops it. So we're able to hold it longer. So if people, so I have my finger on it, so that's stopping it. So that's really your best bet. I know there are, oops, sorry about that. There are definitely some things that are set up that we can't change, but the 10 seconds is set up. I am going to get a little bit more into stories because I'm going to just sort of practice putting a story up so we can walk through it. Up here, I purposely have no stories up here because I wanted you to see the way you put something on a story is if you see this little blue plus, that means if I touch that, it's going to ask me, hi, that's me. It's going to ask me to put something up on the story. So this is my mom and my dog right now. So let's say I wanted to put this picture up. If you go up to this little section here, where that little face is, you can tag, you can put a location, you can put hashtags. And this, I'm not going to go through all these options, but there are so many fun things you can do on a story. So let's say I want to mention, and I'm not going to actually post this. So I want to mention Celine's Sweets. This is a little candy store. So there I can see, this would be, let's pretend like that was, she had candy in her hand and we had gone shopping. So you could tag another vendor, you could tag the AIM markets, you could tag, so that's tagging an account. But if you go up here, you can also do location. So I'm in Oro Valley, Arizona. So if wherever you are, you could put Hayward or San Rafael so you can tag, you could say, I'm at an AIM market in such and such, and that's where this picture is. So that way people who are looking at it know specifically where those peaches that are in that picture come from. And then you can have some fun with it. That's where you can get gifts and do all kinds of silly stuff. And let's say you put this up and you're like, ooh, that's not appropriate. If you just slide it down here, there's a little trash can. And then when you hit this button down here, this puts it up to your story. I'm not going to post this because I'm not sure that Downtown Nevada wants to see my mom, but so that's the logistics. Here, if you wanted to do this little section right up here, this circle with if you touch this, you can do up to 10 pictures all at once. So I'm going to say this is my niece and my dog. So I want both of these up. I hit next. And then you see down here you can have up to 10 images. And then you can touch these little things down here and you can tag or write on, add text. And then you can go to the next picture and do the same. And then if you hit next, you go up here and you would share. So I just wanted I'm gonna go back to that. So if you're on this page and you're about to post a picture, if you click on this right here, this will allow you to do multiple pictures at once. So that is how you put a story up. Now, once you've put one, let me see if I can pull up an account that has something on their story. I'm not sure that I will. So once you put one picture up, this is actually the funniest thing that people ask the most. And when I learned this, I'm telling you, I had the same question. So if you're in your feed, once you have one picture up on your story, this blue plus sign is going to disappear. So if that blue plus sign is not there, that means that you have something on your story. So then the question is, okay, 3 hours have passed and you want to put that you still have eggs at the market and you really want to encourage people to come get their fresh eggs. So then what you need to do is you'll say, if that little plus isn't there, how do I do it? You swipe right. So you take your finger and you go whoop, this way, you swipe right, and it will pull up and you can add another picture. It is not an obvious thing. So just be mindful that if that trips you up, that's where you'll be. So if you want to put a second picture, you just swipe right. So does anyone, I'm going super fast because I have a bunch that I want to cover. Is there questions about the difference between an Instagram feed and an Instagram story? And then specifically, do you have any questions about how to do something on either of those?
There was a couple questions, Stephanie. Okay. What is the difference between pound or hashtag and @ symbol? And are they handled differently and how?
Yes, that's a great question. The @ symbol, and I'm going to show you, is how you would, oops, sorry, my phone went to sleep, is how you would tag another account. The hashtag is a filtering, so think of it as a filing cabinet, and it's the tabs on what might be a different folder, what information. So it's a filtering device. So for instance, if I'm going to do, I'm just adding, sorry, that was a song that I liked that I was listening to this morning. We'll go back to my niece and my dog. So if I'm just posting a regular picture. So I'm hitting next. I'm hitting next again. Now I'm right here. So this is a regular post that would go in my feed. Right here, if I'm in the caption, if I wanted to, so for instance, her name is Haley. So, oh, she's not going to be on here. So let's just say Milo Foundation. If I do the @ sign and I put Milo Foundation, and I touch, see how it pulls it up? My dog is from the Milo Foundation. You click on that. What that allows that people to do is when they see your caption, they can click on that and go directly to that Milo Foundation's page. So let's say you were selling a product in your booth that was from another vendor. You could post the picture, tag them to give them credit as well. And that way, when someone clicks on it, they can go directly to their newsfeed as well and see what they're all about. A hashtag is a filtering. So if I go hashtag rescue dog, then you can see right here, there's 18 million posts about rescue dogs. So clearly that's a very popular hashtag. So if somebody looks at this post and clicks on that, it will pull up every single post that has been hashtagged for rescue dogs. So the @ takes you directly to a person's account or a business's account. A hashtag takes you to a concept. It could be peaches, it could be vegan, it could be sustainable meats, it could be any number of things. So does that answer that question?
Yes.
Good.
So, Naomi, I don't know if this is a question or just a point, but she was saying you can also tap and hold the story circle to add another story.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yes. I'm just a swiper. Any other questions?
Well, Roland, you had other questions. I don't know if it's related to this segment right here, but I'll just let you know so you can answer them when you want. But he had questions about how to build a following in Instagram and Facebook.
We're going to definitely talk about that a little bit later. But Roland, don't let me slip by without answering that. Let's get through this and then I will definitely address that. So we're going to pop over. I'm going to go through this very, very quickly. So there is such thing as Instagram Live and obviously videos that you can put in your feed and in your story. So I do encourage videos. So a video, and I'm not talking about Instagram Live, I'm talking about videos. So if you just make a video of somebody, you at the market, it's a beautiful day, and you just sort of do a video, that can be posted on your story and on your feed exactly like an image. I do encourage that. Keep them short, as in like 10 seconds to 15 seconds, because people just have a very short attention span. But if you do have a longer video, let's say it's 30 seconds, and you put it on your story, we already addressed this, it will chop it up into 10-second segments, but it will run consecutively, so it feels like it feels like you're a 30-second video. Instagram Live is something different. You can go to your Instagram Live, and that would be where you might do a little interview walking through the market and show what you have that day. So you would be literally standing in front of your product, and you could be talking about literally what your products are. And you could even say, gosh, I don't have too much of this today, so be sure to get here early if you want this. And then Instagram Live, that's something that is literally real time. People can log on and be watching you real time. And I don't have anyone, it would appear, if you're live, it would appear right up here, and it would say, so-and-so is live. And somebody could click on it and watch it live. And then once there's a live video, once you're done, it's saved as a video on your feed. So I do encourage you to do live videos, and that's the same for Facebook, but we'll talk about that next week. I think that it's just engaging, and it gives you an opportunity. People are here, they will see it, because the minute they go to their feed, these are always up there. So live, if anybody is live, it always appears right here in the first position. So I just think it is definitely, especially because of the nature of you guys, what you do, I think live would be great. There is a thing called Instagram shopping. I am not going to address it right now. Instagram shopping is something that literally started in May, and I put that in there because there are lots of businesses who are interested in that. That would be if you have an online e-commerce market, you can have people buy directly. It is so new that I am not even an expert on it yet. This is something they put in there. I think literally COVID had already hit. So I will become an expert on that. But I did give you a link in case there was some reason that you were interested in trying to sell directly. My recommendation is not to necessarily use Instagram shopping quite yet. If you have an e-commerce site on like Shopify or something along those lines, they have a function to have you go directly to Instagram that I think is far more robust. This is a little clunky still, so I'm putting it out there because it exists, but I'm not even really addressing it. So does anybody have questions related to Instagram Live or videos? And I'm just moving fast because I'm watching time. Okay. So I want to sort of bore down to hashtags. This is a very, very important thing. I can't really express enough how important hashtags are. In Instagram, there is no other way for you to get through the sea of people. So you should have a list of what I call keywords. So one of the things that your homework right after this, you should have a piece of paper next to your computer, and you should have a list of keywords that you use that are associated with your business. So if you are a gluten-free bakery, that would be hashtag gluten-free muffins, hashtag gluten-free cookies, hashtag, I mean, any words that might be associated. And forget the hashtag piece. Your keywords are important in your overall marketing. Those are words that should appear on your website. They should appear in the captions that you use, because those are the things that ultimately drive your SEO. You should have about 50 words that are associated with your business. If you're located in Novato, so there was a gluten-free bakery in Novato on this call, you would gluten-free Novato, gluten-free bakery Novato. Those are all keywords that would be, if someone's looking for you, and let's say I need gluten-free and I'm in Novato, I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to type gluten-free bakery Novato. So you want to make sure those words appear as much as possible. So your keyword strategy is relevant for all your marketing, and you should be using those terms because it drives in all your writing, so it drives up your SEO. So out of that keyword list is where you would create your hashtags. So you can put like up to 30 hashtags or on your posts. And I encourage you to put as many as you can, because that way, if people are following a specific hashtag, so let's search here. So I'm going into the search bar and I'm going over here. So see where it says tags right here. I'm going to click on tags and I'm going to put farmers market. So there's 5 million posts about farmers markets. That's a pretty big sea for you to filter through. But let's say you put farmers market Hayward. Okay, it helps if I can type market. So there's only 2. So that's probably not a great hashtag to use, because the chances of, so I'm putting farmers market. Wow, let's try this. I'm trying Marin farmers market. Helps if I can type, I'm sorry. I don't have my glasses on. Okay, so there are 3,400 posts for Marin's farmers market. That's a great number. That's a hashtag. So if you are at the AIM market in San Rafael and you post a picture of that market or a product you have at that market, putting this as a hashtag is a great one. So that way, if somebody's following Marin Farmers Market because maybe they want to know what the markets have each week, so you would post peaches or strawberries or pictures of whatever and then tag where you are, that this would be a great use of hashtags. So the first thing your homework would be make a keyword list that's relevant for your overall business. And then from that, you will determine your, the hashtags you use. And so obviously if you're posting a picture of the Thursday market and you happen to have incredible gluten-free muffins, chocolate chip muffins to be specific, you could post a picture of it and then you could type hashtag gluten-free muffins, hashtag Marin Farmers Market, and then it might be worth you using the little ampersand and tagging the AIM markets, because that way you're giving a little, you're pushing people so that they even know specifically what market you're in Marin. So I'm suspicious there'll be questions about hashtags, and so I'd rather answer your specific questions. I could talk about this for days, but does someone have questions specific about hashtags?
Stephanie, I just wanted to confirm SEO is search engine optimization.
Correct.
So when you use a hashtag with all your keywords, you just want to get your business to the top of those Google searches or other search engine searches that people are entering.
Correct.
Right.
And so Instagram specifically, you have to use hashtags. When I talk about Facebook, I will always say, don't use hashtags. You don't need to use hashtags because it reads the words without the hashtags. But on Instagram, just remember, Instagram, hashtags are your friend, because it will help you get through the sea and the slog of so many images that are out there. And so hashtags, just using hashtags, relevant hashtags on your Instagram posts are very useful.
Okay, we have a couple more questions.
Sure.
Is it better to place the hashtag in a post or in a comment?
I like to put them in a post, but it works either way. I think it seems, you know what, I'm going to give one answer. I'm not going to give the political answer. I'm going to say, put it in your actual post, in your comment, not in your comments, I'm sorry, your actual caption.
Great. And then another question, can you save all the hashtags and reuse them, or do you have to type them all out each time?
That's a great question. I'm going to show you what I do. This is my little tip. So you're looking at my phone. I'm actually going to go here. This is my phone. And I have an iPhone, so I'm sure that Droid phones have this same function, but this is an iPhone. See this right here? This is your notes function. If you go to your notes function, these are all my clients, these little dots. I type them in a note. And I like to have it, so let's say I have my caption here. I do these dots and hard returns just so it pushes them down, but that's just because visually, I don't like it to be messy. So that is completely a style thing. There is no benefit or advantage or disadvantage to not doing it this way. This is just a Stephanie's style thing. So I type them in my notes, so I have it all the time. And then when I have to do a post, I just go here, I select all, I copy, and then I paste it right into my post. So then I go here, I'm doing a post, let's go back to Haley, I go next, and I go here and I hit paste. There's all my, so that is just a time saver. And so I highly recommend, and you'll see for all my different clients, so let's say you were at multiple markets. You could do one note for one market, and then you could do another note for another market. You could do seasonal. And so obviously you can cut and paste, and then you can add additional ones. So let's say it's strawberry season and you don't always want to use hashtag strawberries, then you could add a hashtag, but the ones that are your base keywords, that's how I recommend doing it. Any other questions?
I just want to make a note that Andy listed AIM's market-specific hashtags in the chat. So everyone who's on, you can check that out. And we'd love it if you use those also for that that great cross promotion.
And it's also to your advantage. I don't know if anybody is into cycling or NASCAR, but you always want to draft. And when we talk about how to build a following, which is coming up next, or soon, you want to draft. The AIM has their following, and so you want to draft on that. You want to benefit from your association with them. So using their hashtags is to everyone's benefit. All right, so I'm going to move along just because I want to make sure I get through everything. So when should I post? The big question, I get this a lot. I'm sure that this is a little hard to read. And so when you get this, you can look at this more carefully. The answer to that is actually, there are global answers to when you should post. So this right here is a graph of when people are on the most. So Wednesdays and Fridays at 11 a.m. is the time where people have the highest engagement. So one theory is that you'll know you'll be in front of them if you post around that time. The other theory is everyone has got this same information, and so everyone's posting at that time, so it becomes a little bit muddied. So I always say, maybe not, don't go here to this part, a time when nobody's on, but be mindful. This will give you a pretty good idea of when people are on it globally. But what I really want to show you is, so we're going back to my phone. If you go to the Insights section right here, what this will tell you, if you click, I'm clicking right here to Activity. This tells you when your customer is there. So these global numbers are all well and good, but it might not be relevant for your specific needs. So far more important than this global information is your specific information. So what I know is on Downtown Nevada's page, Fridays are when people are on here the most. That makes sense. It's a shopping district. People are seeing what's happening on the weekend. So you should always make sure that you watch your insights so you can make these decisions. So my audience, even though it doesn't say that's necessarily ideal here, my audience is here on Wednesdays and Fridays. So I want to post on Wednesdays and Fridays. Does that make sense? I'm asking a generic question. And so then if you go over here on audience in your insights, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, this shows you who is looking at your specifically looking at your posts. So this tells me my age group. This is real information of who is clicking on my posts and what. This isn't surprising. It's a shopping district, so it's mostly women. But this is a really useful thing. So when you're trying to decide when to post, I really encourage you to go. So I'm going to show you again. When you pull up your page, this Insights button will always be there. You click on Insights, and then you can just scroll around and look at different. You can see when the activity is and who. So I've given you the global information, but I want you to look at your local information. So there was one of you on here that was the person that takes the pictures. So this is just a little photo tip, again, with my dog. Sorry, you can tell I like my dog. When you're taking photos, and I should have, there's some food photos later on, but be mindful that you're not always taking the same exact picture all the time, that you want to consider the viewpoint. So are you looking down on the strawberries? Are you looking forward at the strawberries? Are you looking at just one strawberry? Or are you looking at a sea of, like, a whole bunch of the little bins of strawberries? So you want to make sure that visually you're taking into account that your pictures look different from time to time. So different vantage points. So this is really just a quick slide to say, make sure your photos are interesting. And these are some tips as to a vantage point is everything. Like this one right here is me just standing over him and he's laying on his back. But it's sort of a compelling picture because you're like, whoa, that's a weird picture of a dog. So you want things that people, there is little eye catching. And the nature of what you all do farmers markets are beautiful. Food is beautiful. Vegetables and fruits and eggs. I think eggs are beautiful. So you have the opportunity to you have a great subject is what I'm saying. Also, know your audience. So we've talked about audience at the beginning from a strategy perspective, but here, know what your audience needs. So I want to kind of touch on the COVID piece here. Right now, I think people are wanting to know, is it safe to go to the farmer's market? Is everybody touching everything? So this is a great opportunity to share some pictures of what you're doing without saying, we're really safe. I mean, that's sort of sterile, but here, these stories tell, these pictures tell a story. This one tells me that there is, and you can obviously put a caption with it, that you have curbside pickup. So people can place an order, and maybe in your caption, you explain how it is that they can place an order. And then here, what this picture tells me is, look at all these safety measures that this person has. They have their gloves, the guests have a mask, she has a mask. So this tells a story in the image without saying all the things that people need to say. And then this one, I love this little sign. It just said, please do not touch, and no, I think that says no samples. So that just basically says, yes, we're taking your safety into consideration. Yes, our strawberries are safe. Please come shop with us. And then this is sort of one of the things that I was saying, there's nothing more beautiful than farmers market food. So you have the opportunity to have vibrant colors, and so you can have fun with taking pictures. But just make sure you know who your audience is. So if you're selling vegan food, you don't want to have a picture of steak. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But know what your audience would be looking at. And specifically right now, I think these kind of pictures are very useful because it makes them feel comfortable. So, and then here, I just wanted to quickly give you a tip on how you can brand. So this would be, how do I put words on an image? So if we go over to my phone over here, you'll see on the page, there are some times where there's, oh, look at, see, there's your, that's not an AIM market, but there's photos with text. These have all been created in, I tend to use Adobe Spark Post. These are 3 phone apps that are free. You can download them onto your phone, and they're fun to play with. They're not hard to learn to use, where you can go in and you upload a photo and you can put text on it. So, or you could create something like this where you could put 4 different images, and they have set templates, so you can look at the templates that are appealing. So even, I should have done that. Let me just show you really quickly. If I go here. Oh, you know what? I bet it's open. Look at that. So here, if you go to, this is Adobe Spark, and you can do this on your computer or you can do this on your phone. These are time savers and really ways to make things beautiful. Sorry, my computer's slow because we're on a video. I just want to show you. Come on. I'm sorry. All right, we'll come back to it. It's being too slow. So all I'm saying is that you want to sometimes mix it up and have images that do have some branding on the actual image. So you could put a picture of food, but you could put what market you're at or something specific. You don't have to do it on every post, but I wanted you to sort of, here we go. Oh, it's not cooperating. I wanted you to sort of see that this is a possibility, and I encourage you to do it sometimes. The other thing, okay, here we go, it's popping up. So if you use one of these apps, if you go up here and you type in templates, you want to say farmers market, they have thousands of templates that are already made. And so you can go in here and you could edit this and just, it's being so slow. So you can go in here and edit these. So you can change the words, you can change anything. Let's just pretend this is exactly what you wanted, or you can add text. It's super easy. And then you just download it here as a JPEG. You hit download, it downloads it right to your computer or your phone, and you post it just like a normal picture. So I particularly like Adobe Spark because I think they have much more free options. They have free images. So here, if you wanted to change, replace this icon, you can, I mean, there's a million carrots you can use. So I just wanted to give this as a quick tip that there are these platforms. Canva is another one where you can create all kinds of beautifully sort of already sort of designed templates so that it just looks beautiful on your feed. And then what I'm saying on this slide is you always want to step back and you want to look, I'm going to look up AIM markets. Look it, I'm sure I've searched that before. So here we're looking at, you want to be mindful of what the feed looks like here. So this, by the way, whoever does the AIMS market, you do a great job. So you want to set back and I don't mean to critique, you're doing a great job, but like maybe not have two yellow ones next door to each other, but see how this is sort of these, look at the flow and the color pattern. Like this person has words, image, every other thing. This is a restaurant in Bondi that uses super saturated. I'm not sure you'd want to do that for your natural foods, but then just look at what it looks like from the broad perspective so that, I keep trying to do this on my phone, so that you can make sure that, you know, your photo album looks beautiful. Like if this is a brilliant photo, whoever took that, that's beautiful. And this, like this is a great section right here. So I just want you to always keep in mind what it looks like from afar, which is your whole, all the tiles if they're looking at it at once. So that's what this slide is about. Just look at your individual images and make sure that they feel good. So those are, so I have done branding tips. Are there any questions specific to photos or branding photos? Okay. So I want, somebody asked the question of how do I build my following? I'm sure that's sort of like, did I bury the lead? The most important thing in building your following is to be, number one, compelling and interesting. So that means have good posts, interesting posts, and relevant posts. The second thing is to make sure that you're a good, it's kind of like, imagine social media is like going to a cocktail party. If you just stand there and spew off information about yourself, that's not really that interesting or compelling, and people aren't going to really want to talk to you that much. But if you ask questions or engage and say, oh, what are you doing? Or how do you, you know, what did you do this week? Or what do you do? Although engaging with people is how people become interested in you. So I absolutely encourage you to go search relevant. So I'm going to pick on AIM farmers markets because that's what we're doing. If you go right now, they have 5,826 followers. What that says to me, so if you go to AIM's page and you say, I want 5,000, if you click, I'm clicking on this right here, I can go see who is interested. These are all people who already follow the markets you're going to. So you can scroll through here, and obviously these are a lot of individual people, but there's probably things in here that are relevant to you. And if you start following them, they will turn around and follow you back. And by going to what I would call a complementing business, and it's already, you don't have to go through the slog of every single person on Instagram. You already know these people are interested in very specifically your products and where you're located. And so the other thing is you can go say, okay, I trust AIM markets. I know that who they're interested in is something that's likely to be mine. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click this right here. And I'm going to say following. These are all the things that they follow. And so here you go through first of all, I'm following basically all the people already because we clearly like the same things. So here you can go through and you could say, oh, American Farmland Trust, I'm interested in following that. So you can look and see what they're following and you can start following. Then the minute that you start following someone, they get a notification. So what I did is I went to the little heart button down here. This is where you would get your notifications and somebody will see, oh, Flower Child just started following me. And then they will see you. It's just like that cocktail party. Someone expressed interest in me. I'm going to go see what they're about. That is how you very, very, very quickly build a following. If you're out there on a regular basis, finding people to follow and following them back. So also here, I'm seeing, okay, so this person followed me. I can choose to follow them back. So paying close attention to your notifications that appears in the little heart icon at the bottom of your screen on your Instagram feed, that tells you a lot. And that is the number one way to get followers. So if there was another, you can just go to your search bar and you can, I'm trying to think of another one that might be interesting. So like organic, let's look up organic food. Oh, or here's one for you, Edible Marin. Edible Marin. So this is a magazine, which is beautiful and is oriented to healthy food. So this would be another one. You might pull them up, you go to who are they following? And you would find the people that are reading Edible Marin are shopping at farmers markets, I can promise you. So you go and you sort of see who they're following, and obviously and then you go through and follow along. So that finding mutual companies or mutual organizations and seeing who they follow is a really easy way to sort of step in and not have to just be in a sea of a million people in the internet. So does that sort of answer? I think it was Brandon that had that question. Are there any more questions about that? I mean, I could give a full class on how to build your following. That is your number one first step. So if there are specific questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Stephanie, going back to Roland's earlier question, so a follow-up to that was how to find influencers, and then how to drive action, meaning converting viewers to buyers.
Okay, so first, finding influencers. You're going to start wanting to follow hashtags. Following hashtags will help. You'll start seeing, so foodies. I'm trying to think, I was trying to come up with one. So there's a girl called Allie, I just happen to know. This is a girl who's a total foodie. She's in the Bay Area. She has a very strong following. She's very much a foodie. But if you start to follow, I think I found her because she follows, she does a lot of hashtags related to food. So if you start following hashtags, you're going to start seeing the influencers, and then you can reach out to them directly. So here I could send her a message that says, hey, if you're ever at the AIM market in Marin, please come by our booth. I'd love to. And what she would, again, ultimately, these people get paid for their posts. But if you start watching people who post about, so let's say you go Marin farmers markets. I'm picking on Marin because it's where I am. But these are all posts that are tagged for the Marin farmers market. See, like I told you, eggs are the most beautiful thing, I think. So here, these are people who have posted. So this is where you start to see influencers, and you just sort of follow along and see who's posting. And this is, so I encourage you to follow, I'll go ahead and follow them because I should. This is probably your best bet. I mean, how to find influencers is a big question, but this is probably your best bet. Is you're going to have to do a little homework. You start to really watch who is specific to, and foodies. If you start Googling, foodies, there's a lot of food influencers in the Bay Area. And then the question about converting posts to sales, that's the $1 million question. The more targeted you are, the better you're going to be as far as converting to sales. Encouraging people to reach out to you, I think doing some Facebook Lives that are, hey, come and see us, or send me a message if you want me to save a bag of peaches until you can get here. I mean, doing action items are the most important thing. So if, let's say so engaging with people, but that it does take work. So if you're sitting at the market and it's sort of slow, that's a great opportunity for you to be taking pictures and posting them on your story. I think stories are something, people's behavior is that they immediately do go to stories. I think they read stories more than the feed, especially more real time. So they might look at the stories 10 times a day and look at the feed twice a day. So I think engaging with stories, but giving them a call to action, saying, come down here, I have peaches, reach out to me if you want me to set a bag aside. Really those kind of things are the best things specific to convert. Or for those of you who have maybe, I don't know if any of you have a bricks and mortar business associated with, so maybe you're there and you also have a bricks and mortar, please, you always want to make sure that you're cross-referencing. So, I have this at the farmer's market. I don't usually have it at the stores, so come see us. But, or the opposite, where you're like, if you can't make it to the farmer's market, don't worry, you can always come into the store and get these as well. So action items are your number one way to make conversions, in my opinion. So Brandon, did that answer your question? Feel free to piggyback on it if. Silence. Okay. So also to piggyback on that is metrics. So metrics are, we already touched on this a little bit. That's your insights. This is, talk about conversions. This is another really important thing for conversions. Make sure that you're talking to your audience and know who your audience is. So you go to activity, this sort of, so communicate, and this goes back to everything we just talked about for the last hour and a half, knowing who your audience is. So you're not trying to market to somebody who's not interested in what you have to offer. Back to the conversions, that's your number one way to get a conversion. If you make sure you have what they want, where they can get it, on a timeline that works for them. So your insights are your number one thing to tell you that very specifically. So this goes back to audience. So you can say here, clearly during Wednesdays, I get no new followers. Nobody is thinking about shopping on Wednesdays, apparently. But here you can, so, and it would be interesting to see what all of yours are. You could see, when are people thinking about farmers markets? And then also this shows you where people are located. So I just want to make sure I always put the metrics slide in there, because I want to make sure you're not just posting pictures and hoping, it's like throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping it sticks. You want to have a strategy, and you want to then see how your strategy is working so you can adjust it. It's like sailing. You want to move the sail to make sure you're catching the wind. So if you are always posting because you have time on Mondays, but there's not a farmer's market to be found on a Monday, then that's just not likely to get the conversions you want. You want to do them on the days when people are thinking farmer's market in that specific area. So that's where your metrics come into play. And it is 28 minutes after. I flew through. There's so much to cover, but I flew through this. I want to know, are there any questions? It can be unrelated to what I've posted, I've gone through today. So please, if there's anything that you were walking in this room hoping that you would get answered and I haven't touched on it, please feel free to ask me.
Stephanie, before anyone else jumps in, there was one question that came through in the chat, and that was, would you use your market as a hashtag even if you're not posting about the market? So a lot of people who participate in AIM markets have other business, this is just one facet. So maybe you could speak to that piece.
Absolutely. It's never going to hurt you to use the AIM market hashtag. So for instance, if you're only there one day a week, but you obviously, that's, 1/7 of your business. It's always helpful. I love to know that. So if I have a favorite bakery and I'm going to the farmer's market anyway, I know that I can see you I'm going to come find you at the market. So even if that appears in a post about buying cookies at your store, I think that just helps them become educated. And then if somebody is following that, they can say, oh, I didn't know such and such was at such and such market. So I absolutely think it's useful to use it. Hashtags are never going to hurt you as long as they're relevant, obviously. And we, just as a general statement, we live in an area where farmers markets are valued, appreciated. So you are so fortunate to be selling products that people want. So your battle is not uphill because of the nature of where we live as a general rule. People are there are other parts in the world where they're just not quite, or the country even, they're not quite the same. So keep that in mind, that you are definitely, you're not trying to sell a product that people don't like. And that's such a blessing that you can have a little bit of fun and enjoy it and know that the audience is going to smile upon what you've got to offer. I always forget something. So, and I just want you also all to know, right here, this is their sort of closing slide. I want you to all know this is my email. If you're like me, tomorrow or next week, you're going to be posting and you're going to have a question and you're saying, I should have asked this in class. Please don't hesitate to email me. I really don't mind, and I'm happy to answer your question. I will not disappear on you. So please make sure that it's Stephanie@sakintermedia.com, and you're welcome to reach out to me. I really appreciate what all of you do, and I would love to support your efforts. I can't believe there's no other questions. So Liana, I guess I'll pop it back over to you if nobody else has any specific questions.
Well, thank you so much. And as a reminder, we have Stephanie with us again next Monday to dig in on Facebook. And please do take advantage of these resources, and feel free to reach out to me as well if you want to learn more about the one-on-one training opportunities that we have. And we can connect you in a really specific way to some of our partners like the Marin or other local small business development centers. And so thank you so much, Stephanie. Andy, I think, has a few words to say too before we hang up.
And I'm going to stop share so that somebody else can I know I had that slide. Should I keep the slide up? Actually, do you want me to keep the slide up?
Sure, you can keep it up.
All right, I'll keep it back up. Sorry.
Yeah, so I just want to thank Liana for all of her work to plan this webinar today, along with Miriam and Stephanie. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and experiences, and really want to thank our market participants who are able to take the time out of, we know, your very busy schedules during the peak season of summer to join us. And we really hope that these webinars and training opportunities will help you to expand, grow, and improve your business, and also help to create a better marketplace for everyone. So thank you so much. We really value you being a part of AIM, and there will be a follow-up survey. So we do want to hear your feedback about the session for today, and we look forward to future virtual opportunities, and look forward to seeing you, and keep smiling under your mask at the market. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.